better than nothing.
You're more beautiful than the rest of us anyway. So if you just sit there with the image, everybody will benefit from your presence.
He can dance in the background or whatever.
Or that, yeah.
Welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 185, and today we are venturing out at the FMA line, so to speak, and we're going to be covering Esgrima Criolla. And we have Darren Friesen and Jorge Prina. And I want to thank you both for coming on. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
And so folks that are watching, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from, smash that like button. And today we have some translation going on, so it's going to be a slower pace just to make sure that the information is relayed and questions and all that. So just bear with us, but this should be really informative, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm a huge fan of the system from what I know of it, and I can't wait. So, so with that being said, Darren, let's I guess jump in for the folks who might not know, but basically, as far as a question for both of you, what comprises the art, the origins of the art?
The art itself? Do you want me to ask Jorge or?
Oh, both of you, sure.
Jorge quiere comenzar. Él quiere conocer, él quiere saber qué son las cosas más integral de la arte, qué son las cosas indispensables, que son un centro de funcionalidad en el arte de esgrima criolla.
El cuchillo, con el cuchillo se trabaja, el gaucho desde siempre trabajó con el cuchillo, carneando.
The work knives of the gaucho, he has a variety of different knives that he carries for work purposes.
Decían que era un brazo más del gaucho. Y hoy en día todavía sigue esa tradición. Es indispensable que uno tenga un cuchillo. Entonces, de chiquito uno aprende a pelear. Había un juego.
He says there's a phrase in gaucho language that says una brazo más. That's one extra arm, referring to the knives that he carries for work related, and then transfers them over to the combat element as well.
Okay. So, as far as the origins of the art and all that, we touched upon this yesterday, but for viewers and that will watch the show now and later. Historically speaking, the origins of the art, what comprises it, and the influences.
Históricamente,
¿qué influencias?
¿Qué influencias, cómo desarrolla el punto ahora?
Sí.
What was the last part, Dean?
Yeah, just the history and the origin art and what I guess the influences there that kind of make what we're seeing today in the art.
Y las influencias que desarrollan la arte el punto ahora.
Sí. Evolucionó a través del tiempo. Los primeros años es la mezcla de los españoles con moros y gitanos.
He says that the origin, it's changed throughout the years, but it started with a mix of Moros, of Spanish, of ¿qué más, Jorge?
Gypsies, gitanos.
The gypsies, gitanos.
Y el andaluz. Andaluz es un pueblo de Andalucía, de España.
From the region of Andalusia in Spain. So it was kind of a correlation of things when you include the aboriginals of the territory that they were working in as well. So the aboriginals, the local aboriginals, the Spanish influence from Andalusia, and
y los indios de acá de América. Gypsy. Los originarios de América, obviamente que sí, es fundamental el indio acá.
The fundamentals were Indio, which is aboriginal.
From the India. Okay. When he referenced the gypsies and the gypsies being in Spain, I guess my question would be like, what did the gypsies bring that was unique to the art, or was it their lifestyle, or what have you?
Que traiga los gitanos, Jorge, del estilo, su estilo de vida, su método de combate, su filosofía de violencia, ¿o qué?
Este es un grip gitano, gypsy grip. Esto existe en la esgrima criolla también, este grip. Por ejemplo, hay diferentes defensas técnicas que se ven hoy en día, que sobrevivieron hasta la actualidad.
He's talking about the grip, the specific grip on the smaller blades by his gypsy and how they carry it and their presentation of the weapon.
So he did something interesting there when he went and I don't want to compare and contrast, but it just something really stood out when he went to here. Like, is that a move on their part of the gypsies part? Where you kind of
was that Jorge, eso movimiento aquí es original de los gitanos y qué es la funcionalidad de ese tipo de posición de combate con el cuchillo.
Es un movimiento de esquive del vientre. Cuando ellos esquivan, hacen así. Es un movimiento que se transmite en el flamenco, en el baile flamenco también se ve.
Yeah.
Y cuando el cuchillo no va así, va apoyado en el cabo acá. Entonces esto, si yo clavo, no me traspaso la mano. Traba ahí, con el hueco.
Inevitably, you're palming. I mean, we do that in certain styles of FMA too, where you're palming the blade to give it a greater extension of reach in a subtle manner to mislead or create deception in the opponent.
Okay, it just looked interesting because it was almost like there was also a howling out aspect to what he's doing. I mean, I'm not saying that's true just by the mere posture he was doing. It looked interesting. Tom, anything you want to add as far as questions?
Well, first thing that I noticed is it's really interesting that you reference to the flamenco movement. Yeah, because
la referencia de flamenco es un parte de la baile y transiciona a la posición de presentar el cuchillo.
Sí. Todos los artes de combate se transmitieron por juegos o por bailes. El que no se transmitió así se perdió por lo general.
All of the techniques and concepts in combat came from either play or dance, games or dance.
Wow. Yeah, I actually can see that. What is interesting for me at this moment is because I teach Argentine tango, and we also reference to the gauchos as part of the history of Argentine tango. So it's, for me now, it's basically looking at the gauchos from a different perspective. So,
¿Entiende, Jorge? Más o menos.
Sí, en el tango también tenemos, hay movimientos, hay traslaciones que se hacen en la esgrima, como en el tango, la forma de bailar es... La mujer sería el poncho, que yo lo tengo acá, y el cuchillo acá. Esta es la posición de baile. No deja de ser pelea. Es una manera en que se transmitió.
I think that was probably self-explanatory with the visual. The tango is inexorably linked to Esgrima Criolla and the gaucho culture. So they have a very direct correlation with the development.
Oh, interesting. Wow. So, again, so we got the gypsies coming over, of course, the Indios. So, I guess because I know he's also a historian on this, when the two kind of merge, the two cultures and all that, I guess my question would be, what came out of it? I mean, I know you mentioned farmers' tools, agricultural, but where did it, I guess, split from there and take on where now it became self-defense, a combative art, so to speak?
The gauchos would be equivalent to how we perceive the Wild West in North America, or at least in the U.S.
So they're kind of like put up on the pedestal, the outlaws, so to speak, and kind of like what we do.
Yeah, there was a very transitional correlation between how we perceive that Wild West mentality and how the gauchos lived in Argentina and the rest of South America. Sí, Jorge, hay una correlación directa del oeste salvaje de América Norte y la percepción de los vaqueros y el imagen o el percepción de los gauchos de Argentina y América Sur también. Es lo más fácil o similar correlación que podemos hacer para conectar las culturas de América Norte y América Sur.
Sí, y lo que también es muy parecido a lo que yo conozco. Yo conozco de haber visto el cuchillo apache, tiene algunos movimientos que son muy similares a la esgrima criolla también.
The Apache had a method of utilizing the blade.
La fluidez del brazo en movimiento.
In a semicircular manner, the same way that Esgrima Criolla does.
Okay. So the way we revere the cowboys, the outlaws with the gunslinging and all that, I guess the equivalent in Argentina would be the gauchos with edged weapons and all that. Oh, fascinating. Wow.
They also had projectile weapons as well in that period too. The blunderbuss.
Oh.
Sí, Jorge.
Ahí no entendí.
Blunderbuss.
¿Cómo?
El blunderbuss.
El trabuco. Sí, después se usaba. Lo que tenía era que usar armas de fuego no era de valiente. La valentía se mostraba con cuchillo.
They had firearms as well, but it was considered non-honorable to use them, so they preferred knives instead.
That's interesting.
Wow, that is interesting. Man, it's almost like more noble. I don't know. You know what I mean? Wow, this is great. I love these episodes where you actually learn stuff and exposed to stuff like this. This is fascinating.
Actually, you know what, Dean? What I can do is add an element onto that based on what Jorge said. Jorge, ¿quiere explicar los tipos de duelo específico para el región? There are different types of duels. It wasn't just dueling. There were different reasons to duel. There were different manners in how to implement those duels and the honor that went with them. Entonces, ¿puede explicar los tipos como destreza, primer sangre?
El visteo. El visteo es el que hacen los niños. Sí. Se hace con un palito a marcar. Eso es lo primero que hacen los chicos cuando son chiquitos, a los 6 años. Que eso lo hice yo también. Lo hace muy común. Es un juego que es a marcar con un palo sacado del fuego, dibujar en el oponente.
So it started as children at 6 years old, and he participated in some of these too, where you put a stick in the fire, and that stick represented something that you would duel with to replicate the blade, and the marks that you received from that were kind of badges of honor as well.
Fascinating.
Después se hace con el cuchillo de manera invertida. No vale clavar, lo que vale es cortar invertido, a contrafilo. Esto no corta mucho, es un tajo chiquito.
So from the spine of the blade, that was another method that as they got older, they would use the spine of the blade to cut the arms instead of any kind of penetration or penetrating strike.
Wow.
As a test of skill.
Claro, ese es del brazo y puede ser todo el cuerpo. Después.
Just the arms and the body, the torso.
Arms and body. Okay.
Después hay primera sangre con corte, sin pinche. Después hay con pinche. Y después,
so
obviamente.
They had first blood too. You drew first blood. Actually, Jorge and I have both done that over the years. Jorge tiene videos. Jorge has videos of him doing first blood. What we did once back in the day back in Canada was we would use dull blades. You would dull them intentionally, but they were still tactical folders that could cut, and you would cut superficially to the arms just to enhance the focus and intensity of the moment of what you're doing. So there was no real chance of getting seriously hurt, but there was always the danger of drawing blood and being cut. ¿Sí, Jorge?
Sí.
Hay siempre no hay un riesgo para morir, pero es una habilidad para cortar mínimo con una hoja que no es muy corto o una hoja que es muy filoso, pero muy corto.
No, sure, ¿no?
You're never sure. But the idea is that you have two methods of, at least that I've experienced, that you can implement with that. You have a really sharp but really short blade that's not going to penetrate particularly deeply.
Okay.
Or you have a regular size tactical folder or other replicant blade where you dull the edge to the point where it's not going to cut particularly deep or create superficial scars.
That's so fascinating. Like I've never, taking it right to the edge. I have such appreciation for that. That's wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Tom, anything you want to
add? Is this type of a dueling like a practice or an entry point to something progressing?
Ahí no entendí.
Jorge, ¿eso es un punto de entrada para algo más alto nivel o es solo juegos para desarrollar los atributos de combate?
Es lo más cercano a la realidad que mucha gente puede estar.
It's the closest to actual reality that most people can come.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yo a mis alumnos, cuando ya tienen 2 años de entrenamiento, los hago hacer primera sangre.
So his students, once he's developed them to a certain level, they'll go and attempt the first blood. There was also what they called, and Julius will love this, the destreza aspect, where you're cutting only the hands, or what we used to do too with some of the blades was put a hockey helmet on and use the dulled blades just towards the head and wear full protection on as well. But the hands were one of those things. Destreza means skill in Spanish. It's not a particularly exotic word that way. So destreza was one of those things where you would cut the hands. Hay puntos también, Jorge. There were certain points on the body that you would attack, even in non-bladed, like training blades. So you would do destreza to the hands. You would do for points, certain points on the body had more value than others, and a cumulative point total after a sparring session would create a winner.
Oh, okay.
So you have a number of different diverse duels that you would play with, which is important because that's where a lot of people kind of, we're sparring. And then we go back to technique and break it down and do curriculum, the curriculum and then work your way up to the final product, which is sparring. Esgrima Criolla has a number of different sparring methods for the duel that, because they were so different, built up different attributes in much different ways.
Wow, this is fast.
Por ejemplo, te pongo un ejemplo que es una diferencia con otras disciplinas. Siempre dicen que lastimar la mano hace que yo suelte el arma, ¿no? De Defending a Snake.
Defending a knife.
Si a mí me pegan acá, yo no suelto el arma. Yo cuando combatía con combate real. Y cuando te rompe la mano, difícilmente uno suelte el arma. Porque el otro palazo me va en medio de la cabeza. Para que uno elimine, lo que se hace en la esgrima criolla, se le ataca el dedo gordo, que es el que da la habilidad prensil. Yo sin dedo gordo pierdo el arma. Pero si me atacan acá no pasa nada.
Pretty self-explanatory from the visual, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I think there are some myths. Hay mitos también que yo y cada uno descubre. There are myths that people, push, and that's with a stick too. I mean, we used to do full contact stick fighting, and you would get hit really hard in the hand.
Yeah.
And the perception is that, I hit him in the hand, he drops the stick. I cut him in the hand and defang the snake and he drops the blade. And that's just not always the case. I mean, there are so many intangibles like depth of cut, cleanness of cut, type of blade that you're using, length of blade that you're using, pain tolerance and threshold of the other person, the effects of adrenaline that have there. Hay un montón de cosas. There are so many different intangibles that having a guaranteed thing like, I just defang the snake, that's what I do in real. That's a very simplistic way of doing it because there are a lot of different things that go into making a thing work, and a lot of things that under pressure don't work the way that they did in the dojo.
Right.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. One as far as a question from a viewer was, how was the art researched I figured this would, because I know you mentioned, Darren, that he's also being a historian of the art. And the second aspect of that, is there an actual lineage in the system? So one, how is the art research as far as historical perspective? And secondly, is there a lineage as far as, I guess, pertaining to Jorge, I guess?
Jorge, número uno, ¿cómo se dice? Research, cómo explorar
sí.
o estudiar o
sí, entiendo.
Crear la historia del sistema. Y número dos, hay un linaje directo de vos o de otra gente en Argentina de los gauchos anteriormente.
El linaje nace en mi mano y termina en la punta de mi facón. Uno en la pelea está solo, no está quien te enseñó. Ese es el verdadero linaje. Yo aprendí de mucha gente diferente, no tengo un solo maestro. Y esto todavía hoy en día no se murió la disciplina, todavía en el campo se pelea.
He has researched the fights that take place in the campo, the farm, the field, the playing area. He's talked to different historians. He's talked to different exponents of the gaucho heritage and history over the years. And a lot of it has transferred to modern day via combat testing.
Yeah. Right.
Sí, Jorge, más o menos?
Sí.
Sí, okay.
His lineage, like how he got involved in, does he fall in, and where's he fallen to as far as, I guess, lineage is concerned? I know he mentioned at 6 years old, he was doing that exercise, putting a stick in the fire and all that.
Yep.
Was his family part of the lineage, or was he just...
Jorge, ¿qué es su linaje personal? Linaje de Esgrima Criolla. Su familia fueron de gauchos, tiene una historia directa de Esgrima Criolla, o ¿qué es su conexión originalmente del estilo?
En mi familia no, así, toda mi familia vivió en Argentina siempre y no tengo parientes extranjeros así, todos siempre fueron argentinos desde hace más de 200 años acá.
He doesn't have foreign blood. He's pure Argentinian, and the connection with the land and the history that he's researched is kind of the connection to the system, which is how anybody who's practicing Esgrima Criolla is at this point.
Okay, fair enough.
Hay diferentes estilos de esgrima criolla. Yo lo que hice fue juntar todos y sistematizarlos, pero la esgrima criolla se enseña todavía en diferentes lados, en el campo. No se perdió todavía, se va a perder. Yo lo que quiero es que no se pierda.
His goal is that it isn't lost. It's a historical Argentinian treasure that they've developed through years. It was never completely lost, and it's always been a part of their heritage. Y otra cosa, we have at the bed and breakfast here, we have Argentinian guests, and every one of them is familiar with the gaucho heritage. They're familiar with Esgrima Criolla. They're familiar with Las Pampas and all of the things that go into that. So when you tell them that you're training in Esgrima Criolla or that it's one of the styles that you practice, they're all very familiar with it. I haven't met an Argentinian, un huésped de Argentina, que no conoce la historia de los gauchos, de las pampas, de Esgrima Criolla también. Es muy familiar. It's very familiar to all of the Argentinians that we've had here too. So it's not a new recreation or something along those lines.
So is there only like one style, or are there other styles?
There are many groups that practice in different ways and have their own things. Okay. Pero Jorge, ¿hay estilos de Esgrima Criolla diferente o único o es generalmente una cosa cultural?
Claro. Hay un estilo que es general a todos, que es la esgrima criolla. De ahí se debe
general for everyone.
Por ejemplo, a ver. Este cuchillo era el cuchillo que se usaba en la época del tango, a comienzo del siglo XX, de tango gira.
The 20th century.
Es un cuchillo que llevaba chiquito y escondido en la axila. Y esto lo usaban los
tangueros. That you keep it in the armpit and carry it?
Eso se llamaba esgrima maleva.
Ah, es un elemento de esgrima. That is one of the knives from Esgrima Maleva, which was the higher class usage as things kind of progressed to the urban aspect as time went on.
Actually, that's my next question. The variations of the art from the.
Do you want to get in the variations of the art, or do you want to get into the knives right away, or?
¿Cómo?
We can.
That's up to you.
I mean, what do you think, Darren? What do you?
Yeah.
Adelante, Jorge.
Estos son de esgrima tumbera, es la esgrima que se hace en la cárcel.
That is from Esgrima Tumbera, which is the prison knife fighting method that they use from Esgrima Criolla.
Este es el grip que se utiliza en la esgrima, el pulgar sobre la hoja. The thumb on the flat of the blade.
Yeah.
Jorge, ¿puede mostrarlo otra vez y quite su pulgar? You can see where the thumb.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. This is the real grip. Equal of the blade of knife.
That's a unique grip for Esgrima Criolla too, is utilizing the thumb as a base to direct the trajectory of the blade and the point.
This is different.
Okay.
This, but more distance.
All in the palm. Okay.
Greater extension distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the poncho from jail. In jail is fight the 242 poncho and faca. In the jail, called faca, the knives.
That kind of shape they call the knife a faca.
¿Lo dije bien?
Okay. And we'll leave it at that. So getting with that, so we touched on this yesterday in the test run. You know how there's the gauchos, Esgrima Maleva, then what you have in the jails, the Bonafide King, the originals. I mean, so where do we? I guess I thought maybe we could spend a little time on each just for the folks that are listening or will watch it later. And I guess with respect to the variations, which he kind of started touching on, the weapons that are used in all those variations, I guess. Does that sound fair?
Yeah. Sure. Jorge, los variaciones de Esgrima Criolla, como Esgrima Maleva, como Esgrima Tumbera, ¿puede explicar un poco de las diferencias que las armas que están usando durante los años? ¿Qué son las diferencias únicas de los métodos diferentes?
Como habíamos hablado, este es el alfajor. Este se usa hasta comienzos del siglo XVIII.
The 18th century.
En 1850 deja de existir. Se usaba para torturar y para degollar. Es un arma para pelear contra varios o con picotazo.
¿Pero eso es de qué? ¿De esgrima?
Criolla. Eso en esa época se llamaba viñau. En esa época era viñau, se llamaba la esgrima criolla. Después se llamó duelo criollo. Cuando se llama duelo criollo es cuando se empieza a usar.
In that era it was utilized by that term.
Se usaban los facones. Los facones tenían gavilán. Pero había algunos que... A ver si lo tengo acá. Que eran esto, con gavilán. Después de eso...
Gavilán es the hawk, the quillian.
Claro, y se hacían de rezagos de bayoneta. Se cortaba la bayoneta y se armaba, o los sables de caballería que consigan...
They cut the bayonet. That's in the book too, where they utilized a lot of old Spanish weapons that were left behind or taken, and they altered them to create something new using the interactive parts from those old weapons.
Oh, how interesting.
Por ejemplo, había uno que no tenía gavilán. El que no tenía gavilán se decía que si yo te mataba con este cuchillo, tu alma no iba a descansar. Se llamaba despenador.
Despenador.
Despenador, sí, te dejaba, había mucha creencia. Y si te mataban con este, tu alma vagaba, nunca iba a descansar. The soul is no rest.
The soul doesn't rest.
Sí, se lo mataba con este. Y después tenemos lo que es la mezcla con otras armas. Por ejemplo, con boleadoras. Se peleaba boleadoras contra facón.
Bolos.
Yeah.
Boleadores.
Que era a pie. Después se tenía, a ver, otro...
For those who have seen Jorge's channel, he actually does demonstrations with the boleadoras live or on moving targets or on stationary targets. So if you want a better view,
I think I saw that.
Jorge, ¿qué es el canal? Jorge Prina.
¿Cómo?
El canal de YouTube.
Jorge Prina, sí, o Esgrima
Jorge
Criolla.
Prina.
Sí,
Esgrima Criolla. If you type in either one, you'll get them. And he has demonstrations where they do the boleadoras as well.
Se peleaba a pie o arrojándolas. Eran las dos maneras, pero había duelos que era boleadora contra facón. O también se peleaba con el rebenque, whip. ¿Es?
That's the rebenque.
Y no era letal. Yo peleaba con esto y no lo mataba. Entonces tal vez era un jovencito, un muchacho joven, atrevido, que peleaba, y yo con esto no derramaba sangre, pero lo educaba.
It wasn't to kill, but to educate. So for those who were out of line or needed a show of upstaging after a session or before a session or instead of a session, that was kind of the tool that was used. The thing that I transfer that to the easiest is the shambok. I don't know who's familiar with the shambok.
Yeah, the shambok, yes. Yes, yeah. The African shambok, yeah.
It's very similar in the type of pain and the type of delivery and the type of flexibility aspect from only partial. It's not a whip. The handle is stable and solid, so there's no flex in the handle, and then there's an extension where the flexibility comes from. So it has that multitude of force, exponentially increasing force levels that you can use, but without killing. That's a non-lethal aspect.
Wow. So what the thing he was showing for the projectile was that? So I guess what weapons were more associated with the gauchos?
El facón.
The facón for sure. Yeah. ¿Qué son las armas que más afiliado con Esgrima Criolla y los gauchos? Que son más representados de la cultura? The facón for sure.
El facón y el poncho.
And the poncho.
El poncho no deja de ser un arma. Porque es un arma defensiva.
The poncho is a weapon.
Sí. Yo con un poncho le puedo sacar el cuchillo a alguien de la mano. Espera un segundito.
While Jorge is gone, one of the things that I use is, because ponchos aren't particularly prevalent in Costa Rica, I use a jacket, and you can learn to use that jacket with the zipper, either the zipper lining or the actual zipper itself. And I've actually had 3 or 4 stitches in the top of my head from a zipper with one of the flat stripes as well, a planazo that we have.
Estos faconazos de cuchillo es el poncho que yo uso cuando peleamos. El cuchillo.
Wow.
He says those are marks from the blades that he's used in sparring sessions on his poncho.
Oh, okay.
Y cuando clavas se mueve no pasa nada. Duele, pero no lastima.
It hurts, but it's not fight finishing.
It's not fight finishing. Wow. So the primary, the falcon, the poncho, predominantly the gaucho.
That is the most representative.
The most represented
of the Esgrima Criolla. Sí, Jorge, el poncho y el facón son lo más conectado del sistema, que la representación es más conectado directamente.
Actualmente el poncho se sigue usando. No es que es algo que dejó de existir. Los ponchos, yo ese poncho de hecho es el que uso habitualmente. Y cuchillo, en Argentina no está prohibido andar con cuchillo. Hay un mayor control, pero no hay una ley que lo prohíba.
It's not prohibited. You guys have, I don't know if you've seen the video, whoever's on the Patreon page, where I use the zipper on one of the standing poles in the terrace here.
No, I'm definitely
the impact that just that little zipper uses when you have that elastic recoil action with the poncho or with the jacket. It does more than just stings a little bit. It can actually open you up. It has the potential to knock out. And what I've often done with the jacket, porque no tengo un poncho aquí, es poner, you can put weights in the lining.
Yes.
If you're looking at a lethal scenario or whatever the case may be. I mean, obviously we're dealing with lethality, so you have to be careful in whatever region or culture that you're working with. But people have sewn weights into the lining of the jacket. They've put things in the pocket. There's been other projectiles that are used along with the jacket, and the jacket or the poncho is used as a shield or a misdirective as you're doing something else. And the zipper itself can be altered in a way too that it hurts.
Yeah. Cuando se hace el flecazo,
that's a flick. Like a flick.
Claro. Que el fleco moleste a la vista para que yo haga esto. Eso es lo único que se puede. No hago nada, pero el fleco del ojo.
Snaps.
El tiempo, the time of necessary for eye, ¿cómo se dice clavar? Thrust the knife.
Thrusting.
Knife. Eso, un segundo necesito para entrar. Eso me lo va a dar el poncho cuando yo le hago el flecazo.
Already behind the flick, thrust behind the.
They're used interactively, where the different motions lead from one to the other. So that was one of the things that drew me originally to the system, was the ability to utilize deception in very unique ways that you hadn't seen before. El elemento de decepción y misdirección. And I find I still haven't run out of creative ideas on how to apply those, either in real life or in different elements. I actually utilized the elements of Esgrima Criolla when we were stalked in the San Jose Park one day. There were a ton of people and we had somebody following us. And the ability to deploy a tool, I think, is one of those elements too that people aren't, they think you have the poncho, you have the knife, you spar, you duel, but there are a ton of very directly applicable misdirections and deceptions for the modern day that you can utilize on the fly. How to deploy without knowledge, how to angle the body utilizing the poncho as a misdirective tool, how to carry it so that it can be implemented almost immediately as a distraction or space creator to deploy something more more effective, how to shield certain tools or hide intent. Todos los elementos de decepción es un elemento moderno que podemos usar en defensa personal moderna también, y eso no, para mí, no puedo exhaustar el potencial de usarlo creativamente. Creatively, there are no limitations in terms of how to use with a blade or folder or even different types of handheld tools. It's a very diverse system once you actually delve into it.
No, it sounds, again, I mean, I can't just express enough my fascination with it. I think it's, we got a question here from Emmanuel, and we got Brian in there. Is there visible status symbols within the art for things like the special weaponry or clothing?
Well, I think the poncho and facón we've already covered, pero Jorge tiene símbolos o cosas simbólicas o supersticiones adentro de la arte. Él dice cosas como armas especial o ropa, pero con el poncho y el facón es un elemento que ya hablamos. ¿Hay otras cosas, símbolos o...?
No, cuando uno pelea, en todas las peleas está uno solo contra el otro. Ahí no hay linaje, no hay armas
especiales. It's only one against the other.
Dioses ahí. Ni a Dios le encomiendo. Me encomiendo a mí y a mi cuchillo.
It's very pragmatic. The violence is the violence, inevitably.
Violence is the violence. Okay.
Pero ropa, Jorge, ¿tiene ropa tradicional que uso del gaucho? There is traditional clothing that he uses, that he showcases in a lot of the videos, and I'm hoping he can show that for Emmanuel here.
Sure.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Yes.
I should have asked this before, Darren, and I'm actually little upset at myself I didn't. Do you think it'd be out of the realm if he were to showcase some of the poncho?
Estas son las botas de potro.
Some of the what, Dean?
Falcon and poncho techniques?
Son las
I
botas,
can ask.
se hacen con la pata del caballo.
Those are the where you put your feet in the horse, in the stirrups.
Oh, okay.
The gauchos.
Después tenemos esto se llama tirador. Esto va ahí.
Leather.
Duro. Esto protege la zona blanda de cuchillazos.
It's called a tirador. They wear it around the waist to protect against bladed penetration or cutting.
Yeah.
Y adelante viene esto, que sigue siendo lo mismo, es una protección.
All right in the middle for
¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo
Esto
se llama eso?
Tirador.
Tirador.
Rastra.
Okay. Interesting.
Tirador y rastra. Y esto es lo que se usaba para pelear. Se ponía esto y me protegía la zona del vientre.
It protects the midriff area.
Okay.
Jorge, Dean está preguntando si puede demostrar algunas cosas de la interacción del poncho y facón.
Sí, espera que
¿Sí?
I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. I'm telling you, I'm slipping.
We're all slipping, Dean.
Not my A game.
For any weapon system that you've already been focusing on, Esgrima Criolla is a very smooth transition. I mean, for me, with an FMA background of 25 years, it was an innocuous, very subtle transition to understanding how they interact with each other.
Yeah.
El poncho, cuando uno lo tira,
I'll be looking forward to doing some lessons.
Inmediatamente, yo al tirarlo, ya lo enrollo. Entonces, yo estoy acá. Bueno, el tiro. Ya me queda listo. Entonces, flecazo, paso, y ya estoy listo para atacar. En el cuchillo no se ve.
Yeah,
Siempre va a haber un movimiento. The move for the assimilation, the attack of my opposite. Or advance, or retreat.
Retract?
Retract. My English is bad.
No.
Mi español es un proceso, pero mejor con un vaso de vino. I said my Spanish is a process too, but always better, at least in my mind, with a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Esto se llama manteada, que es desviar el arma del oponente. Yo desvío, se engancha en el brazo, cuando me ataca, desvío y puedo entrar. O desviar.
The manteada is a hit with the poncho on the other person's attacking hand.
Después está esto.
Yeah.
Offline. Okay. All right.
Pará, vamos a hacerlo más chiquito, que acá toco todo. Ahí. Que es similar a lo que hacen ustedes, pero en este caso siempre el poncho está adelante. Entonces del poncho sale el cuchillo.
It's like a redonda.
I was gonna say, right? Figure eight. I mean,
Y uno
Poncho exits from the blade.
The poncho, and the knife is...
First is the poncho to create a covert environment for the blade to enter.
Yeah.
Man, I love
Perception.
it. I love that, man.
Después está lo que es la pisada, que eso no lo puedo mostrar porque estoy solo, pero se tira el poncho delante, retrocedo, y cuando la persona mira, uno tira el poncho y se cae.
When the person looks and the poncho backs them up or changes the equilibrium structure or the timing ratio, that's when the blade can enter and land at a higher percentage.
Y después no tenemos ángulos, no se trabaja con ángulos, se trabaja más
They
con
don't
el
work with
objetivo
angles.
que estoy buscando. Cortar la cara se llama venteveo, o barbijo. Cortar el
The
estómago.
terminology is labeled for the target that it generally hits or the motive of the strike itself. They don't label them based on angles or have different angles of attack the way that a lot of FMA styles do.
Oh, okay.
Claro, la panza sería el bajatripas.
Bajatripas has a very, it's opening the belly. There's forward and there's backward. Al revés is always the reverse. So when you're going forward, you're returning back from the direction with whence it came. But the bajatripas is showing the guts, opening the guts. So they sound, a lot of the Spanish terms are very exotic, and when they're translated to English, they have quite a different connotation.
Or FMA associated with the blue one.
The barbeo is the cutting of the face or the head.
Sí. Después lo que tenemos es lo que es los chuzazos, que es cuando uno clava el cuchillo. Puñalada, que es esto, no se dobla la muñeca. Pero en el chuzazo, sí.
Yeah, okay.
So it's got the twisting of the wrists at the point of impact or directly before.
Y cada tiro va a ser para una distancia de pelea. Yo una
For every
puñalada,
cut, it's based on a range of combat that they fit in.
Y a distancia larga, por ejemplo, hago ahí el chuzazo que tengo espacio.
He says for the long distance or distancia larga, they term it, the chuzazo has a lot more range, a lot more distance, and a lot more penetrating impact upon arriving at the target.
Okay.
Y un detalle importante que es esto. La forma en que uno corta, el cuchillo está acá, salgo, gira el cuchillo y vuelve. Y nunca dejo de apuntar. Esto no lo hacemos, es pasante. Se hace en caso de
they
que
don't
quiera
use the
hacer algo
follow
especial.
through, so
Pero
there's a lot of wrist movement with the cut. So upon impact, you're hitting, and then the wrist does more damage upon impact once it touches.
Yeah.
Interesting, but Darren, that would enable them to be more on center for recovery as opposed to passing, right?
Yeah, you're not overcommitting with the elbow or the shoulder.
Most
of the work is done with the wrist.
Si yo así, quedo anulado. Cualquier persona anula. Hago así, me anula. Si hago así también. En la esgrima criolla nunca se tiene que ver el antebrazo. Nunca. Esto es un error.
They never show the forearm. It's an error.
The knife is behind, and my opposite is in front. My tip in front.
Okay. Oh, these concepts, man, I love. Wow.
The idea is that el punto siempre está en el blanco el ojo opuesta o la oreja opuesta.
La oreja opuesta. Claro. The tip my knife in the air, right.
It's always at the opposite eye or the opposite ear, but it's never static. It's always moving. So anytime you're moving it, it's always in those positions that are still focusing the point on those targets. And as we see, and there are other arts like Kenjutsu that also have that, it's a psychological impact as well. When the blade is always focused on a vital part of you, there's a psychological impact. There's also a depth perception impact. Where when that blade starts moving forward in a very rapid manner or with a closing step, it's very hard to perceive the distance to make the correction in time to avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
And my opposite is run to me, corre rápido hacia mí, mas last movement is this. The tip is in front of you. I save me.
So
notice how he's angling the body upon full extension to add that little extra distance at the end of it. What I find that I really like is because it's a dueling system and everything is reverse engineered to the duel, to actually sparring or fighting, is that there are a lot of these little micro movements that make the big difference in a fighting context as opposed to an art context. And that was one of the things that really drew me. Los micro movimientos de combate es muy claro que es un sistema para el duelo, para el visteo, porque los movimientos del cuerpo que cambian toda la distancia, el micromovimientos del ratio de tiempo, and you don't see that in a lot of styles that focus on sparring or fighting as the end product. Esgrima Criolla, the product is the sparring and fighting itself, and everything is reverse engineered to go back
I can dig that.
to that fight and return to it and fine tune it and hone it. So, I mean, what he's doing, que Jorge está haciendo, with the angling of the body and the extension and the corkscrew, those are all deceptions that are used against an opponent to land at a higher percentage, to get closer, to change the footwork of an opponent and misdirect that person. Dígame, Jorge.
Y se entrena con solamente la mano derecha en la pelea con cuchillo. Con la izquierda voy a entrenar poncho. Nunca se entrena cruzado, porque en la pelea yo nada más confío en mi mano derecha. Y un duelo dura no más de 3 minutos por lo general.
They don't usually last, the duels don't usually last more than 3 minutes. So he doesn't practice with the knife in his left. The left is for the poncho and the right is for the knife, and that's how they're trained. So when you go into battle, you're going with the tools that got you to the prom, so to speak. The tools that are highest percentage and that you've worked the hardest, that have the greatest chance of success and survivability. ¿Sí, Jorge?
Yeah.
Yo hice varios duelos a primera sangre. Una sola vez me duró más de 3 minutos, que ninguno de los dos nos cortamos. Por lo general, al minuto y medio ya nos cortamos. Cuando duró más de 3 minutos, los dos teníamos los nervios tan cansados que dejamos de pelear. No hubo sangre esa vez.
He says that the general time for the duel is 3 minutes, because you're at your best for that time, and you know anything more than that, and you're running out of stamina and become sloppy. Anything less than that, and you don't get cut.
Yeah,
you don't risk yourself enough to really start learning the understanding of combat.
Yeah. Oh, Darren, there is a question here. Are there particular entanglement techniques?
Oh, Emmanuel. Okay.
Oh, you guys had to pick a word that my Spanish vocabulary is limited. Jorge.
Entanglement.
Entanglement, yes.
¿Cómo se dice? Entanglements. Cuando hay muy cerca espacio, combate. Y cuando yo puedo agarrar vos y vos puede agarrar mí. Hay técnicas de eso, distancia de combate con cuchillos, o no enfocalizar eso cosa.
¿Técnica de cuerpo a cuerpo?
Cuerpo a cuerpo, cuando yo puedo agarrar su mano del cuchillo y vos a mí también.
Hay llaves, son pocas, no tienen mucho desarrollo, pero sí hay llaves, hay llaves, lo que pasa son pocas, no hay tanto desarrollo de técnicas, porque si yo uso un arma, es para potenciar mi poder ofensivo.
It's for offensive purposes, to create openings.
Y entreno esto y ahí, por eso, hay técnicas, pero son muy pobres. La verdad, ese es un lado flaco.
He said there are techniques, but they're very poor at that range for pretty much anything, which generally is the case when you can see on YouTube we have CCTV and we have YouTube and we have anecdotes from professionals in their field. So, I mean, you can see that generally plays out. The idea of a lot of close range technique without being barbarically injured is extremely low these days. And it's not to say that we don't train them or that you shouldn't train them, but it's not a focal point, he's saying, of the art itself based on how the duel has worked out.
Okay. All right, yeah, fair. Yeah, that's fair enough, yeah.
¿Querés que cuente lo de Bonafont, que es interesante?
Do you guys want to get into Bonafont Cane a little bit?
Yeah.
It is actually a separate system and written. It's a book from es en el siglo XX, ¿sí, Jorge?
Comienzo del siglo XX. El tango
started in the 20th century with a book from Bonafont, who was an Argentinian who developed the cane method. So it's not actually directly a part of Esgrima Criolla, but they add it to the curriculum as a side element.
El tango lo escuchaba la gente de la clase baja, la clase, el gaucho de la clase muy baja, el trabajador.
Low class people, the low class workers.
Se pone de moda y la gente viene, el dandy, que era
The dandy.
la
They called
aristocracia.
the fashion statement of the time for Esgrima Maleva, which was the dandy, the well-dressed gentleman.
Se escuchaban los prostíbulos y iban ahí y siempre terminaban cortados porque el hombre de trabajo iba con cuchillo y ellos iban vestidos con moño, galera. Y acá la zona el aristócrata empezó a diseñar un sistema.
The aristocratic that wore the top hat and the suits.
Yep.
The Bonafont cane, like Esgrima Maleva, it was designed for that class of people.
Claro, y el sistema es con la mano invertida. Entonces se pegaba.
Inverted grip is the predominant element of this cane system.
Vamos a ver ahí. Bueno, pero vamos a sacar uno más chiquito. ¿Dónde? Entonces, el sistema era de mano invertida.
Interesting.
Okay.
Es diferente, se utiliza mucho la de reverse grip.
The reverse
Y
grip.
funcionó. Después ese sistema vivió hasta más o menos 1950 y después fue desapareciendo poco a poco. Se usó en los grupos políticos, también entrenaban Bonafont para pelear con los garrotes.
The political class generally trained the Bonafont cane. It was an upper class tool of usage that developed within that arena.
Yeah. It's actually quite good because they're working on weapons or objects basically that they know that they can use.
That are accessible,
within their class, are accessible in their class, and basically it could be like legal to carry at that time.
Jorge, una cosa que es muy interesante aquí, Julius has a good question here too. ¿Qué es el impacto de destreza común o destreza real, la verdadera destreza y el sable o sabre? ¿Qué es el impacto de esos elementos de esgrima criolla? ¿O nada?
No hay la influencia es general, porque no hay una influencia específica.
Not a specific influence, but a general one.
Claro, no traspasó ni siquiera los nombres. Los nombres de los tiros, esto se llama hachazo.
That's a hachazo. The tiros are the type of strikes.
Achure, chuzazo, ni siquiera los nombres se traspasaron. Lo que tiene de común es que se peleaba con cuchillo allá y acá también, y algo habrá traspasado. En sí no hay mucha, pues ni siquiera se ataca la mano.
Attacking of the hand. He said some of the terminology transfers as well, but some of it has been lost in time, but generally it's more of a general connection than a specific one.
Okay.
No hay ningún ataque que se haga que no tenga un beneficio. A mí no me sirve cortar acá si yo sé que no le voy a generar ningún daño. Es un tajo. El único corte que yo hago es en el que yo genere un daño verdadero, o a menos que sea primera sangre. Por eso, uno ataca el pulgar, pero acá no vas a generar tanto daño. Por los 4 tendones no los voy a cortar. Es muy difícil lastimar así. Entonces, los ataques se hacen en puntos específicos. No es que
The attacks are made with the point being specific.
Okay. No, great. Tell him thank you. What can he just maybe touch upon, or yourself, Darren? Like what? In other words, like in Piper, you have what's in the Cape Town Flats, but you have a very different aspect in the prisons. Is there something similar in your guys' art that tactics being different in the prison system, or is there a separate system per se, or variation thereof?
I think more methods. I think a lot of the things that Jorge and I have talked about are things that correlate between the Argentinian prison system and the Costa Rican or Central American prison system. And I think a lot of things transfer over because of usage, because not that they're similar from culture to culture, but because they've, like I said yesterday, come to the same conclusions on pragmatism out of necessity. So I mean, here you see that as well. Like the knife is taped to the hand or palmed in some way.
Yeah.
There's a poncho or a t-shirt or ripped clothes that are used on the forearm. You see that a lot in Latin American prisons, and it's no exception here either. And whether they go to, even the method of delivery, it's not always to kill, but sometimes to send a message, un mensaje in el cárcel. You see that a lot too, to first blood or to a debilitating target that gives you more points. To tests of skill that we see in here too, that are dangerous, for the average person that's looking at them. So I don't think it's any kind of systematized thing as much as it is that techniques that transfer over from one prison culture to another. Jorge, hay elementos de esgrima tumbera que son muy identificados o es más una efecto al lado de la cultura de las cárceles que puede transferir de una cultura de América Latina y el otro. Hay algunas cosas específicas como un estilo de esgrima tumbera o...
Sí, por ejemplo. Vamos a buscarlo. Te muestro una técnica que se utiliza. En las cárceles muchas veces lo que se intenta es pinchar en las piernas. ¿Cómo se dice pinchar?
Pinch
Pinch with the knife.
is to pinch or squeeze tightly in an innocuous area.
Una técnica que utilizan se llama la viborita de Little Snake. This, en short distance. Entonces, arriba, abajo, el que a mí me importa es el último. In the femoral, ¿cómo se dice? La arteria.
Femoral artery.
Yes.
Cara.
And
Baja tripas, arteria femoral.
Carotid, yep.
Es una técnica que se utiliza, es para pinchar en las piernas. Si llego a errar, igual va a perder mucha sangre.
There's a lot of blood.
Sí. Después tienen, a ver, vamos a buscar.
Jorge, by the way, used to be a prison guard.
Hacen esto, si el movimiento es circular, pegan para abajo. Si es ahí, pega para arriba. Si es ahí o ahí, pega para adentro. Eso es lo que entrenan ellos todo el tiempo, entrenan y saltan mucho la soga. Tienen técnicas.
They train those particular techniques quite a bit. But again, that is kind of, you see repetitive motions that breed success. And when they breed success in one arena, they breed success in another arena.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no es un sistema, ¿no? Es técnicas que funcionan en el alto porcentaje de sobreviviendo, de matar a otra persona, ¿sí?
Tienen ellos en la cárcel acá, hay gente que se llaman los cuchillos largos. Se vendrían a ser como grandes peleadores. Se organizan torneos de cuchillos largos en las cárceles.
They have tournaments with cuchillos largos, long blades.
Okay.
Y entrenan todo el día y tienen técnicas. Después hacen un tipo de duelo.
They train all day. So their techniques
ese está desde la época del campo. O sea, pone un poncho en el piso, un poncho mide 1.30 m por 1.80 m. Y no pueden salir del poncho y pelean ahí.
1.30 to 1.80 m with the poncho in length, and they would put it on the floor. Poncho el piso.
Y ahí hacen los primeras sangre. Y que es para entrenar. Se usa mucho para entrenar.
It would be towards first blood. Pero el poncho necesita un paso arriba del poncho siempre. Ambos.
Un pie. El que se saca el pie pierde.
Yeah, he says the method that they would use to first blood would be putting the poncho in a square on the floor. And the rules dictated that to not lose or lose honor or whatever the case may be, you had to have 1 foot on the poncho at all time.
You have to stay in that 1 foot.
with live blades, but one foot had to be present on the poncho at all times. So if you start with your right foot on the poncho, it stays there.
Stays there.
And the length of the poncho, la longitud del poncho fue, ¿qué? 1.30 y 1.80. He says about 1.30 to 1.80.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Okay.
Ahí está la mitad.
Yeah. Man, the system just gets more and more.
Después hay otro duelo que se llama poncho-poncho, que es el duelo, cuando pelean, el que pierde el poncho pierde, y en la cárcel te pasa lo que cualquiera imaginaría que le pasaría al que pierde el poncho. Es con cuchillo también.
It would be poncho a poncho, so poncho against poncho. So if you drop or get disarmed from your poncho, you lost.
Okay.
You're done. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Wow. What is there a relevant of lead? And I guess what I mean by that is, typically speaking, would it be left hand lead, leg forward, poncho left arm, knife in the back, right leg back, right hand? Assuming is that generally speaking?
Transitions. There are different methods where the poncho goes in front or goes behind, depending on the location. But the poncho is generally, if it's closer to the body, it's held more at chest level. When it's in front, it's held higher at about eye level. He can demonstrate.
Oh, see, now he's going right. Reverse. Got you.
Defense position.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Y cuchillo enfrente?
Attack position. My knife is my first defense. Poncho is first defense, but my knife is back. I stop it.
Right. Okay. Wow, man.
I can go over those on the Patreon too if you want, Dean, or we can go back and forth on those. And I can show you the transition from one position to the next.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
No is positions, no hay posiciones fijas. Quiet. No position quiet. The move, the fight is fluid, is move.
Yeah, there's never a static position there. That's why I say that hay transiciones. The positions are organic in that what the fight dictates what your position is going to be. There aren't static positions where you choose where certain strategies come off of that the fight will dictate that, and those strategies will be developed naturally from the position as you go, depending on the opponent that you're facing.
Cada oponente es diferente. The opposite is different. All different people. And hay the strategy specific for different people. ¿Dije bien?
Sí, claro. Different strategies for different people.
Yeah. And all that. I can see that. Something we touched on yesterday, and on the test run, and we went to a little bit, but again, and me and you, Darren, we've kind of talked about this, and just the relevance of knife attacks, and all that, where they're just, I think they're, based on conversation with you and others, they're just so much more prevalent, and this kind of system and the need for it is so much more relevant in Latin America, Central America, South America, Mexico, South Africa, and all that, and that's why I attracted is like Piper knee systems, because it's like happening today. Like somebody in a South African Cape Town or prison is probably Piper's getting used on them, or Central America, somebody's getting cut, stabbed, Central America, Mexico, and all that.
Yeah, it's a very real entity. I mean,
that's what
I remember talking.
Like, this is,
I remember like Winnipeg is considered a violent Canadian city generally, and yet only 30 people die a violent death there every year. But for the rest of Canada and per capita, that is exorbitantly high. I remember when I moved here that the whole dynamic kind of flipped on its head. There was no show art. There was no systematized demonstrations for things that could happen. In reality, it was like, hey, this could really happen, and this is how we need to prepare for it. And I mean, here Costa Rica is considered one of the safest countries in Central America. We have 550 murders a year here by knife and by gun. So I mean, when you know that I have a mark on me too, and that I'm white, and going gray is simply not as feasible as one living in North America, moving from Wyoming to Oregon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That concept is kind of flipped on its head. So, and that's not a credibility thing either. It's just that there's a different dynamic. There's 10 times more violence here, literally, than there is from where I came from. So the need for something that functions, that's easy and that's transferable is kind of imperative. Culture and environment dictate method. So it is what it is. You know, when you hear people talking, that's why I was talking to, I think it was Mustafa put that post on FMA discussion yesterday.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one.
And I agree with it. I think the more that you see people projecting online, and the more you see people talking shit and putting emphasis where it's not needed, and paying attention to the minutia as opposed to the big picture, the less they actually look like they come from an environment where it's necessary. Tom has known me for a long time, and you never see me talking shit online.
Exactly.
I don't tip my hand.
Exactly.
I don't tip my hand. I don't give away valuable information. I don't project. I don't react to my triggers. And that's a very clear strategy that, you develop based out of necessity. And Jorge is the same that way, where, it's nice to sit around talking to people who come from the same environment, not so that you can one up the other, but so that you can go, hey, what do you do down there when? And I'll tell you what I do up here when, and how do we kind of make each other better in that way, so that we can up our survivability, not so that we can impress the internet crowd.
Exactly that.
And that's what kind of bugs me about
exactly
FMA. This is kind of why, indirectly, no big secret, I'm kind of straying away from FMA pipe or getting into this, because I am just, it's an exhausting community, I'm just being honest. And it's just because all this folklore, rolling off the floor on the laurels of these old Esgrimadors, when modern day, these people are not even doing anything what they did back then, or
not at all.
Even remotely. They're like, we're doing. It's like, no, you're not. It's like,
it's very different now.
No, you're not. Different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got in an argument the other day, but I think it was probably last year, where the guy was telling me about what he's done and what he's been through and how dangerous an environment he came from. And I said, where are you from originally? He said, Montana, rural Montana. And I was like, oh, Jesus. I mean, this is not an argument I'm wasting valuable lifetime on.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Rural Montana. Yeah, the bison, man.
I mean,
they're chasing me.
And it's not to be cocky, but Jorge y Joe, we live in areas where, I mean, I'm not under the gun all the time. I don't have a knife at my throat. I'm not going to lie and credibility, when it's bullshit. But it is far more dangerous here than where I came from. It is. It simply is. Y de Jorge también es más peligroso que la mayoría de los norteamericanos viven. And when you look at it that way, everything becomes kind of streamlined, where you the things I do to avoid conflict, the things I do to mitigate, the things I think of in the aftermath, the things that, are prevalent to knowing that actions that I do could have later collateral damage, long-term consequences, is far more prevalent. And you get tuned into the environment a lot sooner than you would other times. Than I did back home, certainly. So, I mean, I'm judging me against me, not me against other people. And the difference from me living in the definition of a violent city in Canada to living in a violent city in Central America is night and day. That's just the reality of it. It's a credibility builder in any way, but things are different here, and the dynamic is different. And you have to act that it is different. And I don't live on an expat conclave where everybody's safe and they have 10 security guards outside and a big fence. And
no.
It is here. So, That's why I like a system like Esgrima Criolla, porque Esgrima Criolla es directamente funcional. It's directly functional to the need.
That's my point. It's like it's so relevant. Like what you're going to try today, and it's practice and relevance and
cloak and dagger work is omnipresent. I mean, all you have to do is look online for third world violence or prison culture, and you'll see it pop up automatically.
And they're not running off the laurels and the folklore of like, and this whole fake facade and persona. Like it's just exhausting and like.
Jorge, estamos hablando acerca de el atmósfero de fingiendo de la mayoría de el percepción de las armas y la realidad de atmósfero de la cultura o de cosas que nací violencia o contra violencia.
Sí, se vive, va cambiando de acuerdo a cada. Europa es un lugar tranquilo, Estados Unidos depende de la ciudad, calculo. Hay ciudades que en North American, in USA, the cities is sure and other cities is not sure.
Yeah.
En Sudamérica is more danger. Brasil, Argentina, and Ecuador, Colombia. ¿Y Costa Rica también está peligroso?
Sí. Yeah. And Costa Rica isn't near El Salvador, Guatemala, or
El Salvador, huh?
There's another level further down yet that you can delve. So I mean, we're fortunate in that aspect, but that's why one of these things, like, you know, when we do advertising in martial arts, you see so many people that are the final authority on violence, and the first thing I generally ask is, where do you live? What's your experience? What's the history of where you've lived? How much have you been exposed to? I mean, what kind of life do you have? I mean, if your biggest danger is driving a minivan to Burger King every day, you can be the final authority on anything, but it doesn't mean that you can teach me specifically in my environment or my culture self-defense.
Right.
It doesn't.
Yeah. It's completely
exactly that.
But hey, on a positive note, let's get to the book.
The book.
So what was the inspiration, collaboration for it?
¿Qué es la inspiración de colaboración, Jorge? Dígame.
No, quiero difundir esta disciplina criolla. Pues lo que tienen, a veces no es cuando me preguntó la primera vez, que me dijo si había algo que sea místico o algo. Acá en Argentina hay mucha tradición de cuchillo, mucha tradición.
There's a lot of traditions on the blade in Argentina.
Okay.
Y es parte de nuestra cultura.
But he also, Jorge, que es, para mí, for me, it was that I think I wanted to share this with a lot of different people, and to put out the first English book ever on Esgrima Criolla with Jorge, who has been so gracious in sharing knowledge y compartir conocimiento conmigo, y tenemos una relación muy fuerte de combate because we've grown up fighting a lot. And to be kind of in that Argentinian lore of having the first kind of English project to be put out on this was a special thing. I mean, it was something that I took a lot of pride in, and it was something that I wanted to help pay Jorge back by spreading the word a little bit more to English, because while I don't want this to get watered down into some systematized thing that we always seem to do in martial arts, it's also important that it gets exposure, because it's a valid art. Es un arte muy válido, muy pragmático, y quiero transmitir un mensaje de otra gente que habla solo inglés, que ese estilo tiene mucho valor y es muy honorable, muy elemento diferente. It's very unique in its
absolutely
in its element.
It is.
That was for me. Eso fue mi motivación. That was my motivation to work with Jorge.
Es americano.
Americano. Sí.
Well, I'm glad you guys did it because
true.
No todo viene de Oriente, ¿no?
Perdón?
No todo viene de Oriente.
No, not everything comes from the Orient, he says.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm so glad you guys did this. I think this is fantastic where people can get really like a hands on this and get like an introduction to this great system and all that. And for folks who are watching, this Amazon.
Available in Amazon.
Amazon is the best place to get it. It's reasonably priced. I'm just starting to get into it now.
Even in the UK, it's available in Amazon in the UK.
Yeah, it's just I'm just so glad you guys decided to do this, and I commend you both. You know what I mean? Like bringing this to the forefront, this great art that I think needs so much more attention. Do some of the things that we talked about today, the relevance, what's currently going on, pragmatic. It's so functional. Yeah.
Más o menos.
You know? And you guys seem like great, reasonable people that are propagating this art and not running off the folklore of some guy. Yeah,
you can have I think that's another message that Jorge, dígame si está en acuerdo o no. I think that's another message that Jorge and I have been kind of on the same page and adamant about putting out there is you can put out a product that's solid and functional and usable and is based on the fighting aspect without selling out.
You guys are doing
puede poner un producto de la lucha, de combate, de un sistema funcional sin autopromocionar para un montón de dinero para cambiar el núcleo, el centro de funcionabilidad. I think that's another thing that we didn't compromise on the product of the book. I told him I wanted the same terminology, that I wanted all of the elements in. He agreed. And that was kind of one of the things that was important to us, was not to lose the essence of that style and system along the way without selling out to put something out there that wasn't its original form.
No,
that is really important. Really important. Yes.
Yeah, you guys. I'm here. So what's the future? Okay, let's what's the future? What's the future for each of you in the system?
Jorge, ¿qué es el futuro del sistema para vos?
Yo todavía peleo a primera sangre. Mis alumnos pelean a primera sangre. El sistema funciona. ¿Cuánto tiempo podrá hacer eso? No lo sé. Pues con la modernidad viene... esperemos que el sistema continúe lo más puro que está como hoy. El tiempo trae mucha civilización y se pierde eso.
He wants a system more pure that isn't lost over time and isn't altered for unethical reasons and to keep going on first blood.
Yeah. Good for you not selling out. Good for you.
The Esgrima Criolla is never sport. It's real fight.
That's so fantastic because there's FMA systems today. That is the masses. You know what I mean? And and that's great that he's going to keep that like that with your help, Darren.
Yeah. Pero yo quiero, I want to thank, yo quiero agradecer a Jorge también para la oportunidad para trabajar juntos, para promocionar el estilo, para compartir conocimiento y para tener confianza en mí con ese tipo de proyecto también. That I want to thank him for helping, and joining on this project. For the continual sharing of knowledge and the open door policy that we usually have with each other, that we always have, and for trusting me with putting this out into the English form.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Yeah, well, we thank both of you for that.
Perdón, Jorge.
Compartís la misma idea que yo, la misma ideología del combate real, que eso es difícil de encontrar.
Pero es un lenguaje que Jorge and I talked about before the book, and there are some terms and explanations in the book. Hay algunas explicaciones en el libro que that you can't really understand unless you've fought those same things.
All right.
Las temas de español, para mí, no entendí todo de las cosas. I didn't understand all of the terms that he did, but when I put it into my mind in a fight context, I went, is this what you're trying to get across? And he would go, yeah, exactly. And we both kind of agreed that without one or the other that has that immersion into that, combative or fight element, the book wouldn't have come off with just a regular translator or just a regular writer.
Yeah.
We kind of hablamos lo mismo idioma en con las armas. We speak the same language, and I think that's a transferable language, and far too often we look for differences. What separates things or makes me superior to Tom or Tom superior to Dean and far more often there are connections that we can make on how to connect the systems and keep each other safe in dangerous environments.
Sure. Yeah, that is true. Yes.
Tom, did you have any other further questions before I get both their channels and social media?
No.
Julius is asking about the Destreza thing again, and I think we went over that.
I think it was already
we covered, right? I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about channels? Like, how can people view your content? Get a further idea. What's Jorge got going on as far as channels?
My YouTube channel, it's Darren Patrick Friesen. I have a lot of the Esgrima Criolla videos. Jorge's YouTube channel es Jorge Prina o Esgrima Criolla. ¿Y qué es el blog?
Esgrima Criolla Blogspot. Esgrima Criolla también.
Pero
Esgrima Criolla Blogspot.
Esgrima Criolla Blogspot. And he has a lot of great breakdowns on there.
All right.
Okay, I'm sorry, Blogspot? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I definitely want to, in the comment sections, what I'll do is I definitely would like to, I'll put links for both you guys on there.
Yeah.
I'm just so people can definitely see what you guys are doing and all that. But I want to thank both of you for coming on.
Thank you.
Ellos quieren agradecernos para contribuir del pod. ¿Eso es yerba?
Es yerba, mate.
Yeah. My goal in life is to try that beverage one day.
What's that? What is that?
Sí. Yeah. Es muy rico.
It's very good. Has a great taste, he says.
Todo el día se toma esto, todo el día estamos tomando mate.
Okay.
I prefer far more fighting or sparring or resistance training to translating. This was like sweating, like, okay, am I getting the message across? Am I? Yo prefiero luchar de traducir.
I thought you did fantastic. No, I thought you did great. Yeah. All right, so I just put, for folks that are watching, I just listed there we go. And I'm going to list Darren's definitely Patreon.
Él tiene su blogspot en el FMA discusión y el canal de YouTube también, Jorge.
Yeah, definitely. But again, I appreciate you both coming on. This has been absolutely wonderful, and I hope folks who will watch it when it's posted, or when I download and put an FMA discussion. Of course, I'm going to share it to your guys' walls as well. I hope folks can they'll get a better lens on this great system, and that there's other stuff out there besides FMA, folks. That's all. I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, guys. It's always a pleasure to interact with both of you.
Yeah, we have the
Jorge también. Mil gracias.
I haven't forgot part 2 with Tom, and Darren.
Oh yes. Yes.
We have to get that going. Yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah, we can't forget that. Yeah, we can't forget that. Yeah. And Jorge, gracias. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Darren, I have a feeling we'll be communicating.
Sure. I'm up for whatever. So
yeah. I'm when I want something, man, it's hard to turn me away. So
keep harassing me. I'll break.
Darren. Please. All right, guys. As always, appreciate it.
Right. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, Darren and Jorge.
Thanks, guys.
Learned a lot.
All right. Who we got next, Tom? I think we got. Julius. Julius and Martin, right? Somebody. Who?
Yeah.
They got tomorrow night. The name is escaping me. Wait. I think I got it.
Is that with Core Combat?
Yes. Sakana, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Friday, Tony Blower.
Oh yes. What time is it?
1 p.m. Friday. I'm kind of digging these afternoon shows. So if you want to jump into Tony Blower and the Spear System.
Yeah. Yep.
So something to do a test run with him.
His system's quite interesting. It has been almost like a progression of the fence.
I'm a huge ways of distracting somebody from it. I think there's some stuff that's really valuable to integrate into what you're doing. Anti-grappling for single leg, double legs. You put the spear on the neck. It stops that forward progression.
Yeah.
Part of it for reverse. I mean, there's some really, really good stuff to extract from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've seen some of his videos. He has some good stuff. Yes.
Yeah, working off the biological response into going. There's some really, and I'm not saying you take it for everything you do. No, I'm not going to get ridiculous like that, but definitely a value of what to put in.
Yeah, but you can see some value into it, and basically the moment you understand how it affects your opponent.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
Yeah.
I gotta get Darren's Patreon address and put it on here.
All right.
But Tom, always a pleasure. I appreciate you coming on. It's always
thank you very much. As always.
It's always a pleasure to have you on with me. So and I'll let you on the Tony Blower. I'll see you more.
Okay.
All right, folks. If you haven't already, subscribe to FMA Discussion, where you can see this interview and other great ones. And stay tuned. Julius has got something coming on tomorrow with Martin, and then Friday, like I just mentioned, at 1 o'clock Friday, is Tony Blower. And then there's somebody else coming on Saturday. Julie's got somebody from Europe Saturday, and I got the FMA school. Yeah. So we got actually next 4 days in a row.
We're still busy.
Yeah. Pumping that content.
That's good.
All right. You take care.
Take care too. Stay safe.